No matter how many times you watch the movie Tenet, there's a big chance you get a headache trying to understand it. They even gave us a hint not to try so hard in the second act. You can enjoy action scenes and just go with what you can grab from the story, or you can get obsessed and watch it 15 times and still be a little confused. So let's pitch it. This is a movie about a group of people trying to prevent the end of the world. We follow the hero of the story, who ironically is called the protagonist. With storyline being all intertwined, you'll be getting a Nolan movie for sure. So let's see what we're dealing with and how this might be an interesting concept to draft some architectural drawings. Based on what we learned researching for this video, the definition of time is an abstract concept and you basically can define it on its own as a single entity. But let's leave this for scientific and philosophical communities and try to understand this the way Christopher Nolan tried to show us in the movie. So at some point in the future, people will figure out how to invert the time flow of physical particles, to the degree in which they make an algorithm to invert the time for the whole universe. Their intention is to escape from natural disasters that are occurring during the time. They believe that the people from the past are responsible for it all. On the other hand, they've made some facilities called the turnstiles. They invert and revert any material through time. Time inversion for a traveler looks like this. At this point, travelers enter the turnstile and the flow of time inverts for them. It's not like their age would go backwards or anything like that, because although they go backward in time, what's in front of them is still their future. When you go through a turnstile, time inverts until you go through again to revert back. You can get in at any time, but if you have a specific time to travel back to, you have to wait out to reach that point. We hear the term temporal pincer movement in the movie, which apparently is a tactical operation. But what does it mean exactly? So let's say you have a target, a team and a turnstile. The objective is to blow up a building to create a divergent. First you pick a time, then the team separates into two units. One goes ahead to do their task, the other should wait out the whole operation, then go through a turnstile and operate at a given moment. The plan would run something like this. Eventually, this comes to a full circle. There's a lot of debates about the true nature and the definition of free will. The one that might be related to the story of Tenet is what ifs. For example, what if this character decides to do X instead of Y? Wouldn't that affect the whole timeline? With every decision a character makes in the movie, the plot might take a new path. But it's all an illusion. There's no such a thing as free will in any movie. If you follow the story for the first time, you might feel you're taking each step alongside the characters, especially the main ones. But the reality is the story is fixed for the audience and the sense of adventure you feel is intentionally planted by the director. If you ever felt that way watching a movie, then congratulations, you watched a good movie. Or at the very least, you watched a movie that you liked, in which the director was successful to keep the audience engaged. But in the case of Tenet, the main reason that it might feel different is there's a meta timeline that the audience are constantly trying to figure out, and this gives the illusion of free will to the characters. You might love this challenge or you might get confused enough to quit the movie. Either way, reactions are always extreme. Apparently, it took Christopher Nolan 5 years to write this movie. One thing you might come to realize is the complexity of the plot overshadowing the quality of the dialogue, which is not too high to be frank. Some are outdated and some are out of place regarding the way of their impact. We weren't sure to point this out because we get it, it's an action movie and the rhythm is high, but the continuous dialogue between multiple locations is a bit out of reach. When trying to map out Tenet's structure, the problem of where to start comes up. In the eyes of the viewer, the plot is a typical three-acted structure, which means the movie has a beginning, a middle and an end. But if you lay out the story and try to connect every act together, you'll get a circle and a couple of plot holes. We tried our best to visualize it based on the characters and the events. It looks something like this. Okay, so we have a decent understanding of what this movie is about and how to perceive it. Now let's put these concepts to work. These are just a couple of ideas on how you can get inspired by Tenet to design an architectural narrative. Let's say you want to design a walkway for a park, and your brief just says Christopher Nolan's Tenet. Your idea might be different, but we came up with these drawings. Okay, the next one is rough cuts on a continuous line. We talked about how the continuous dialogue in various locations is a bit out of reach, but let's challenge ourselves and go crazy with this concept. Is this draft relatable to this matter? We'll leave it for you to decide. And lastly, the maze. This one is more like a game, but it's a pretty cool idea, especially if you're into escape rooms. From the concept of temporal pincer movement, we can prioritize literally heading for a goal in our design, very much like a maze. Of course, we can get inverted in time in the real world, but we can translate it into individual movements and circulation. The drawings would look something like this. We've seen a lot of ups and downs in cinematic productions. Sometimes expectations are so high that doesn't leave any room for even a shift in the tone. After all, this is an industry, and most of the time, demand drives the production. In any case, we and many people like us found Tenet to be worthy of a deeper conversation. We'll be on the lookout for more movies to break down like this one, so make sure to subscribe. Until then, this was The Architecture by Tenet. My name is Abba, and thank you for watching.